that other cities have tried caps, and they haven't worked. The fact is that we would be the only city, the fourth largest city, if we pass this, to have a program in place that would have caps. The fact is that several of my council members said, well, 150 or 250, I'm not sure which the number is. Well, we can throw any number in. We're not, I'm certainly not an expert, maybe others around the table are. I don't know whether 150 would be great, 250. I'm just opposed to caps. I don't think they work. I think it's been proven that they don't work. And I also feel that ARA, I don't know whether 1,000 people would sign up to join or 2,000 people. I'm assuming that ARA would know how to handle that. And if 2,000 people put their names in that they want to drive, then they're going to have to figure out how to do it. And it may take 6 months to integrate 2,000 people into it. But that's what we have. That's why ARA is doing what it is, and I have my confidence in the fact that they would know, based on the experience of other communities around the country, how to do that, how to integrate it, if that is the way that we're going to go. And finally, I also have read and reread Dr. Monday's report, and I appreciate it. But I don't always agree, just because we spent $50,000 to hire an expert, that everything the expert says is what we want to adopt for us. And so, that said, I oppose the use of arbitrary caps. I oppose the use of caps.
I'm allowing more general discussion because I think we're going to get there eventually, but technically we're just talking about 250 and 150. Councilmember Green?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, on this particular issue, I do support the amendment to 250. We've been talking about what's the right number. But from when we had the facilitation meeting with all of our stakeholders, to me what was most compelling was those individual cab owners, those small cab owners. And so we hadn't even talked about them at this table. Nobody it seems to care about what's going to happen to those individuals, that when this is enacted, that they would have an opportunity to either shift, get under an app process, which I know Director Pius is working with now with all the independents, and get them into a place where they can be successful. All I think Councilmember Pennington is requesting is for time that we look at our existing market, give these small players an opportunity to tee up where they need to be, and get them on a plane where they can also compete. Because 1 year with an open market will destroy them. So all we're asking is for time for them to tee up. That's all we're asking. Thank you.
Bradford?
Thank you very much. Councilmember Green, some of us have talked about the impact this would have on those small cab operators. This is going to put them out of business. That is what it's going to do to those small operators out there that you are espousing support for. I think that it's fair to say that we don't know how many new entrants are going to come to this market. We simply don't know. There's a question concerning how many new operators will be in this market. There's a question concerning enforcement capacity. How are we going to do enforcement here? And we took time to accept the implementation of a task force to examine some of the issues. Those primarily will look at issues impacting our disabled citizens. That's kind of the way the task force amendments are written primarily. But we are beyond the scope of that at this point in time. It has been said that the 250 number is arbitrary, and Councilmember Cole indicated that she was not an expert, and maybe some of us are. Dr. Monday is an expert. He's recognized across America and well respected in this particular arena. And we selected him for that reason. We paid him $50,000 to give us an opinion. So it's not that we're just arbitrarily saying 150. No, the expert that's recognized across America did his research, his analysis, and brought data to this body which supported his recommendation of 150. Now, Ms. Pius, the question to you is, are we utilizing any of Dr. Mundy's recommendations in what is before us now, or did we just say, Dr. Mundy, you're the expert, you're recognized across America in this area, come down and give us some advice, and he came in and told us what should happen, and we just said, we don't want to hear you now, because you're not saying what we want to hear. We're not going to acknowledge you as an expert. Are we doing anything that Dr. Mundy recommended here?
As I've explained to the committee before when we presented to this.
No, I'm just simply saying, are we doing anything?
I'm answering the question, sir.
But you're going into what you tried to explain to this committee. If you can give me a yes or no, or just stand down, are we doing anything that Dr. Mundy recommended here in this amendment today?
In the substitute ordinance, yes.
Thank you very much. I think for us to not acknowledge the fact that we need time, and I think that the 150 or the 250 gives us time to see what is going to happen. And Councilmember Stardate, it's not an FTE situation. This isn't that. This is the granting of a license. You get that license and you use the license. The FTE situations tend to evaluate one position for you 25 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's not what this is about. You get your license, you're going to be able to use your license here. I think that this is a fair compromise until we can find out what all the implications are going to be. From an enforcement standpoint, how many interests are going to hit the market, and the impact it's going to have on our citizens out there, because I'm not sure that we've put enough safeguards in place to protect our citizens from a public safety standpoint yet. But in 6 months, a year, or whatever, if we move into this new arena slowly, we can come back and make adjustments. It just seems like a reasonable thing to do to me. Just as colleagues Stardate and Green worked and came back with very plausible recommendations about the task force to look at, again, primarily the disability side of the equation. I think we need to slow down here and not go so rapidly. So I want to commend Councilmember Martin and Councilmember Pennington for the amendment and the amendment, which allows us to move forward in what I think is a rational manner. And we do have an expert telling us, whether you agree with 150 or 250, the expert made it clear, go in at a measured rate. And he recommended 150. And I'm willing to yield to the pro-offer of 250. Thank you.
Director Pius, it's been a while since I read the Monday report. Did he actually put a 150 number in that report?
I'm having my staff look it up right now because I don't remember him recommending a number. What he was recommending was that we wait a couple of years to do anything about TNCs.
I thought that was incorrect. Thank you. Councilmember Pennington. Councilmember Pennington, do you wish me to move forward with someone else?
Sure, I'd be glad to have a vote on the legislation.
No.
Well,
you're in the queue.
I'm in the queue, yes. I would like to suggest there is some risk to what we're moving forward. And by the way, I'd like to mention to Councilmember Boykins that we did get the Super Bowl again. I mean, we got it in 02 and 03, and I think we did a good job. We got in the Final Four, and I think people were happy. So I think that we're a progressive city and a city that does welcome outsiders and do what we can do to take care of them. And I think we do a good job because we have our share of national events. But I do think there's some risk. I think that the statistics show that about 75% of the current cab business is in, call business in neighborhoods. And there's no question, in my mind at least, that there'd be an adverse effect on the cabs. That doesn't mean we shouldn't go ahead and do it, but there will be an adverse effect, so we ought to take it into consideration. And I think also, as I mentioned, it could be, I know we have, 500 or 600 unprosecuted municipal court cases against the app companies who come in here without authority to do so. I mean, that's just kind of an indication of the kind of enforcement problem that we could have. So I think we need to be mindful, if we don't look any further than what the city resources are to process the applications and to proper review the operations of the people who come in, that there's a limit on what we can do. And so I think that to increase the number of cars for hire by 50%, if there are 4 operators, that's about 1,000 cars. That's about a 50% increase, and I think that's about all that we can handle. I just, I hear complaints about getting city permits on time all the time, and I think that we need to be mindful that we have to have the ability to enforce what we issue. So I just think this is the right number for the time being, particularly considering this is a new world that we live in, that we're going to be learning. I mean, we've looked to the other cities to find out what they're doing, but it doesn't really teach us that much. So I would urge your adoption of the amendment. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Mayor, I just think that, again, we're talking about scaling back will be an issue, and I'm going to make a plea